After the Christmas dinner, I forgot my phone on the table. When I came back, the waitress locked the door and whispered, "Be quiet. I'll show you the camera footage above the table. But promise me you won't pass out." What my son did on that video made me drop to my knees. Before we continue, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to hear my story. If you're comfortable, let me know where you're listening from, and what time it is where you are. Now let me tell you my story. The Christmas lights at Magnolia and Grace were absolutely beautiful. I sat at our table near the window, looking out at downtown Charleston dressed in holiday splendor, feeling genuinely happy for the first time in months. My son Terrence sat across from me, handsome in his expensive suit, his wife Keisha beside him, looking elegant in a burgundy dress, and next to me, my precious grandson Cameron, 6 years old, chattering excitedly about Santa Claus and presents and everything magical about Christmas. "Grandma Gloria, did you see the reindeer decorations outside? There were 9 of them. That's even more than Santa has." I laughed, ruffling his hair. "I saw them, baby. They were beautiful, just like this whole evening." And it was beautiful. The restaurant was upscale, the kind of place I'd never have chosen for myself, too expensive, too fancy, but Terrence had insisted. "Mom, it's Christmas. Let me treat you. You deserve something special." The gesture had touched me. Terrence had been so distant lately, always busy with work, always stressed, phone calls cutting short our conversations, visits becoming less frequent, but tonight he seemed like my boy again. Attentive, loving, asking about my life, my friends, my former students. Keisha was pleasant too, smiling at my stories, complimenting my dress, being the daughter-in-law I'd always hoped she could be. We'd had a wonderful meal. Prime rib for Terrence, salmon for Keisha, chicken tenders for Cameron that he barely touched because he was too excited. I'd had the special duck with cherry reduction that was so delicious I'd made embarrassing sounds of appreciation. Terrence had laughed. "Mom, you sound like you've never had good food before." "I taught elementary school for 35 years, baby. This is fancier than anything I ever ate." "You deserve it. You worked hard your whole life, raised me by yourself after Dad died, put me through college. You deserve everything good." The words had made my eyes water. This was the Terrence I remembered. The grateful son. The loving boy I'd raised. Keisha had reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Gloria, you're an amazing woman. We're so lucky to have you in our lives." I'd felt blessed. Truly blessed. Now, as we finished dessert, bread pudding for me, creme brulee for Keisha, chocolate cake for Terrence and Cameron to share, I looked at my family and felt full. Not just from the food, but from love. "Excuse me," I said, standing up. "I need to use the ladies' room. Too much wine." Terrence smiled. "Take your time, Mom." I walked toward the back of the restaurant, past other tables of families celebrating Christmas, past the bar where couples sat close together, past the host stand where our waitress, a lovely young woman named Jasmine, was organizing menus. The bathroom was elegant, all marble and soft lighting. I took my time, fixed my hair, reapplied my lipstick, looked at myself in the mirror. 58 years old. Retired school teacher. Widow. Grandmother. But tonight, I felt young again. Felt valued. Felt loved. I walked back to the table feeling light. We finished the evening with hugs and promises. "Next Sunday dinner at my house?" I asked. "We'll be there, Mom," Terrence said. "Love you. Love you too, baby." Cameron hugged my legs. "Love you, Grandma Gloria. Love you more, sweet boy." We left together around 9 p.m., walking to our cars in the parking lot. The Charleston winter air crisp and perfect. Terrence helped Cameron into his car seat. Keisha kissed my cheek. "Thank you for a wonderful evening. Thank you for being here, for making an old woman very happy." They drove away. Terrence's Mercedes disappearing into the Charleston night. I drove home to my house on the east side, the house I'd lived in for 28 years, the house where I'd raised Terrence after my husband Marcus died. The house was quiet when I got home. It was always quiet now. I made myself tea, got ready for bed, reached for my phone to set my alarm. My phone wasn't in my purse. I checked again, checked my coat pockets, checked my bedroom. No phone. I must have left it at the restaurant. At our table. I looked at the clock. 9:45. The restaurant closed at 10, but they were probably still cleaning up. I drove back to Magnolia and Grace, hoping they hadn't thrown my phone away or turned it into some lost and found I'd have to track down tomorrow. When I pulled into the parking lot, the restaurant was mostly dark. The main dining room lights were off, but I could see movement inside. Someone cleaning up. I parked and walked to the front door. Locked. I knocked. A face appeared at the glass. Jasmine, our waitress. She looked surprised to see me, then cautious. She unlocked the door, opened it just a crack. Mrs. Winters? Did you forget something? My phone. I think I left it at our table. I'm so sorry to bother you. Her expression changed. Something flickered across her face. Nervousness. Conflict. Something I couldn't quite read. Come in, she said quietly. Quickly, I stepped inside. She locked the door behind me. The restaurant felt different with the lights low, with the holiday music turned off, with the other diners gone, intimate, almost secretive. Your phone is in the back, Jasmine said. But Mrs. Winters, before I give it to you, there's something you need to see. I looked at her confused. She was 26, maybe 27. Beautiful young black woman with her hair in braids, her server's uniform still crisp despite the long shift. Something I need to see? After you left, I was clearing your table. I found your phone. But I was reviewing our security footage. We had an incident earlier tonight. A customer dispute. My manager asked me to check the cameras to see what happened. I saw your table's footage. From dinner. She paused. Mrs. Winters, you need to see this. I don't understand. What about dinner? Jasmine looked genuinely distressed. Your son, your daughter-in-law, what they said when you went to the bathroom. My heart started beating faster. What did they say? I almost didn't show you. It's Christmas. But if it were my mother, I'd want to know. What did they say, Jasmine? Come to the office. I'll show you. But Mrs. Winters, she looked at me with such pity it scared me. Promise me you won't pass out. What I saw on that video made me sick to my stomach. The office was small, tucked behind the kitchen. It smelled like coffee and cleaning supplies. There was a desk with a computer, several monitors showing different camera angles of the restaurant, filing cabinets, a small safe. Jasmine sat down at the computer, pulled up video files. This is your table. Camera 7. We have cameras throughout the restaurant. Insurance requires it. Plus it helps us train staff, resolve disputes. She clicked through timestamps. You left for the bathroom at 8:47 p.m. Watch what happens after you leave. She turned the monitor toward me. I watched myself stand up from the table. Watched myself say something. The video had sound. Excuse me, I need to use the ladies' room. Watched myself walk away from the table. Terrence, Keisha, and Cameron remained. Cameron was playing with a small toy car he'd brought. Terrence and Keisha were sitting close, looking like the perfect couple. The moment I disappeared from the camera's view, Terrence's entire demeanor changed. The warm smile vanished. His shoulders relaxed. He leaned back in his chair and let out what looked like a long, relieved breath. He leaned toward Keisha and whispered something. Keisha laughed. Not a warm laugh. A cold, mocking laugh. Jasmine turned up the audio. Terrence's voice came through crystal clear. God, I thought she'd never leave. I can't stand another minute of her boring stories. I felt like I'd been slapped. Keisha's voice. The one about her students? I've heard it 1,000 times. Little Jamal learned to read. Nobody cares, Gloria. She was imitating my voice, making it high-pitched and ridiculous. They both laughed. I stood there watching my son and daughter-in-law mock me, and I felt physically ill. It gets worse, Jasmine said quietly. Keep watching. On the screen, Terrence signaled to Jasmine's video counterpart, ordered another scotch. Then he turned back to Keisha and his expression grew serious. 6 more months, he said. That's all we need. Keisha leaned forward. You sure the diagnosis is terminal? I gasped. What diagnosis? Jasmine paused the video, looked at me with such sympathy it made me want to cry. Keep watching, she said. It gets much worse. She unpaused. Terrence on screen. Doctor confirmed it. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. She has maybe 8 months, probably 6. The room tilted. I grabbed the desk to steady myself. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer? I had cancer. She doesn't know yet. Terrence continued. They're calling her after New Year's with the biopsy results. Keisha, and she doesn't suspect. Not a thing. She thinks the abdominal pain is just indigestion, stress, too much rich food. By the time she realizes what it is, it'll be too late for any real treatment. Perfect timing, Keisha said, and her smile was absolutely chilling. We'll be so supportive, so caring, the devoted son and daughter-in-law. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what I was hearing. I had cancer. Terminal cancer. And my son knew about it before I did. My son knew I was dying. And instead of telling me, instead of supporting me, He was sitting in a restaurant discussing the timing of my death like it was a business transaction. How does he know? I whispered. How does Terrence know about my diagnosis before I do? Jasmine said gently, he mentioned a doctor on the video. Keep watching. Terrence was still talking. The house alone is worth $650,000, paid off completely. She finished the mortgage 3 years ago, plus her pension, her life insurance policy, her retirement accounts. I did the math. We're looking at about $1.2 million total. Keisha's eyes gleamed. And the will? Everything to me. I'm her only child. Cameron gets a trust fund, but I control it until he's 25. Standard stuff. So the money's ours, every penny. We'll sell the house immediately. I already talked to a realtor, got a market analysis. We can list it the week after the funeral. Get that cash liquid, pay off our mortgage, buy that lake house in Asheville we wanted. Maybe take a year off work, travel. Keisha was smiling, actually smiling. I can't believe we're finally getting what we deserve. After years of putting up with her, those boring Sunday dinners, Terrence agreed. Her constant advice about everything. How to raise Cameron, how to manage our careers, how to live our lives. She acts like she knows better than me. A pediatrician, how to raise my own son. Once she's gone, we're done, Terrence said firmly. No more pretending to care. No more fake family dinners. No more listening to stories about students from 30 years ago. We'll do a respectable funeral. Cry at the appropriate moments. Accept condolences gracefully. Then we sell everything and move on with our lives. I was crying now. Tears streaming down my face. My hand over my mouth to keep from making sounds. This was my son. The boy I'd raised alone after his father died. The child I'd worked 2 jobs to support. The young man whose college tuition I'd paid, whose MBA I'd helped finance. This was the man I'd babysat for. The grandson I adored, giving up my free time so Terrence and Keisha could build their careers. And he was sitting in a restaurant, counting my money, planning to sell my house, discussing my death like it was a windfall. On the screen, little Cameron suddenly spoke. Daddy, what's terminal mean? Terrence barely looked at him. Eat your dessert, Cameron. This is adult conversation. Is Grandma Gloria going to die? Keisha reached over and patted Cameron's hand. Shh, baby. Not for a while. And when she does, she'll be in a better place. Cameron thought for a moment. Can we get a puppy when she dies? You said we could get a puppy when we have more money. Terrence laughed. Actually laughed. Sure, buddy. When Grandma's gone, we'll get you that puppy. Maybe 2. Jasmine stopped the video. I collapsed onto my knees, sobbing so hard I couldn't catch my breath. Jasmine helped me into a chair, brought me water, handed me tissues. I cried for what felt like hours but was probably only 10 minutes. When I could finally speak, my voice was broken. I have cancer? Stage 4. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Winters. I didn't know. I've had stomach pain for weeks. Sharp pains, nausea, but I thought it was just, I'm 58. I thought it was age, stress, too much coffee. My doctor ran some tests 2 weeks ago. Blood work, a CT scan. She said she'd call me after the holidays with results. I thought it was routine. I looked at Jasmine through my tears. But my son knows, Terrence knows I'm dying. And he didn't tell me. He's waiting for me to die so he can inherit my money. The words sounded insane, like something from a movie, not real life. But I just watched the video, heard every word. Jasmine knelt beside my chair. Mrs. Winters, I'm so sorry. What they're doing is evil. I couldn't let you walk out of here without knowing. How does he know? I asked. How does Terrence know about my diagnosis before I do? On the video he said a doctor confirmed it, that they're calling you after New Year's. I thought about my doctor. Dr. Patricia Matthews. I'd been seeing her for 15 years. Good doctor, professional, always thorough. Then I remembered, Terrence knew Dr. Matthews. He'd gone to school with her son. They'd stayed friendly over the years. I'd seen them at charity events, hospital fundraisers. He must have called her, I said slowly. Asked about my test results. And she must have told him that was a HIPAA violation. Completely illegal. Doctors weren't supposed to share patient information with anyone, even family, without permission. But it had happened. Dr. Matthews had told my son I was dying before she told me. And Terrence had kept it secret, waiting, planning, counting my money. Can I have a copy of that footage? I asked. Jasmine nodded. I'll burn it to a USB drive right now. But Mrs. Winters, what are you going to do? I don't know yet, but I need evidence of what they said. She worked quickly copying the footage to a drive, adding the restaurant's contact information. If you need me to testify to what I saw, I will, Jasmine said, handing me the USB. What they're doing is wrong. Evil. You deserve better. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you for showing me. I almost didn't. It's Christmas. I thought maybe I should just give you your phone and let you enjoy the holiday. But if it were my mother, she shook her head. I'd want to know. I took the USB drive, put it in my purse along with my phone. Then I drove home, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. I got home just before midnight. The house felt different now, like it didn't belong to me anymore, because Terrence was already planning to sell it. Already had a realtor's market analysis, already knew exactly how much money my death would bring him. I walked through the rooms, looking at my life. Photos on the walls. Terrence as a baby, as a toddler, his first day of school, his high school graduation, his college graduation, his wedding day. Me and Marcus, my late husband on our wedding day, young and in love and full of hope. Marcus holding baby Terrence, tears streaming down his face. Marcus had died when Terrence was 10. Heart attack. Sudden and devastating. I'd raised Terrence alone after that. Worked as a teacher during the day, tutored kids at night to make extra money, took on summer school positions, did whatever it took to provide for my son, put him through college at Morehouse, helped with his MBA tuition when he decided to go into finance, gave him money for his wedding to Keisha, helped with the down payment on their first house, babysat Cameron constantly 2, 3, 4 days a week, while they built their careers. I'd done everything for Terrence, everything, and now he was waiting for me to die. 6 more months, he'd said. That's all we need. I sat in my living room until 3 in the morning crying, thinking, planning. If I only had 6 months left, I wasn't going to spend them being their fool. The day after Christmas, I called Dr. Patricia Matthews. Her office was technically closed for the holidays, but I called her personal cell phone, the number she'd given me years ago for emergencies. She answered on the 3rd ring. Gloria? Is everything all right? I need to know my test results. Now. A pause. Gloria, this is something we should discuss in person. Come to my office next week. I already know. I need you to confirm it. Another pause. Longer this time. How do you know? That's not important. Tell me. Do I have cancer? I heard her take a breath. Gloria, I'm so sorry. The biopsy results showed stage 4 pancreatic cancer. It's advanced. Very aggressive. Even though I'd heard it on the video, hearing it from my doctor made it real. How long do I have? 6 to 8 months. Maybe longer with treatment. But Gloria, pancreatic cancer at this stage. There's no cure. We can manage your pain, try to slow the progression with chemotherapy and radiation. But you need to prepare yourself. Did you tell my son about this diagnosis? Silence. Dr. Matthews. Did you tell Terrence about my diagnosis before you told me? He called me, she said quietly. About a week after your CT scan. He said he was worried about you, wanted to know if everything was okay. I told him we'd found something concerning on the scan and were waiting for biopsy results. Then when the biopsy came back, he called again. He seemed so worried, Gloria. So caring. I told him it was cancer. I told him to prepare himself to be ready to support you when you got the news. I thought I was helping him be there for you. I didn't realize, you violated HIPAA, I said. You told my son I was dying before you told me. I know, I'm so sorry. I thought, he seemed like such a devoted son. I thought I was doing the right thing. You should lose your license for what you did. I know. And my devoted son, he's been hiding this from me for over a week. He hasn't told me. Instead, he's been planning how to spend my inheritance the moment I die. Dr. Matthews gasped. What? He knows I'm dying, and he's planning my funeral. Counting my money, deciding which house to buy with his inheritance. That can't be true. Terrence loves you. I have video evidence of him discussing it, planning it, celebrating it. I hung up before she could respond. The next day, I called my attorney. Marcus Stone had been handling my legal affairs for 20 years. Estate planning, my will, property matters. He was 55, professional, trustworthy. Marcus, I need to see you immediately. It's urgent. Of course, Gloria. Is everything all right? No, everything is very wrong. I need to change my will. We met at his office that afternoon. I brought the USB drive. Before we talk about the will, I said, I need you to watch something. I played the restaurant footage for him. Marcus watched in silence, his expression growing more horrified with each passing minute. When it finished, he sat back in his chair. Gloria, I'm so sorry, this is unconscionable. I'm dying. I have 6 months, maybe 8, and my son is waiting for me to die so he can sell my house and spend my money. I want to make sure he doesn't get a penny. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Gloria, are you absolutely sure about this? Terrence is your only child. Once you change your will, once he finds out, I'm sure. He made his choice. He chose money over his mother. Now I'm making my choice. Show me my options. We spent the next 3 hours reviewing my estate. I'd been careful with money my whole life. Teachers don't make much, but I'd saved, invested, planned for the future. The house, worth $50,000, paid off 3 years ago. Life insurance $200,000 policy. Retirement accounts $280,000 accumulated over 35 years of teaching. Pension survivor benefits, worth approximately $70,000. Savings and investments, $150,000. Total estate value, approximately $1.35 million. My current will left everything to Terrence, with a trust fund for Cameron that Terrence would control until Cameron turned 25. We can change this entirely, Marcus said. Who would you like to inherit? I thought about my life. 35 years teaching elementary school. Hundreds of students. Kids from poor neighborhoods. Struggling families. Single parents working 2 jobs. Kids like Terrence had been. Kids who needed help. I want to create a foundation, I said. An education foundation. Scholarships for Black students from low-income families who can't afford college. I was a teacher my whole life. I want my legacy to be helping kids get the education they deserve. Marcus nodded, taking notes. That's beautiful, Gloria. Cameron should still have his trust fund, $200,000. But managed by an independent trustee, not Terrence. Someone who'll actually protect Cameron's interests. And the rest, the house, the life insurance. My retirement accounts, everything else goes to the foundation. Terrence gets nothing. Marcus looked up. Nothing at all? He can have my photo albums and the family Bible. Sentimental items. But money, not a penny. He wanted to wait for me to die and cash in. Well, he can wait. And when I'm gone, he'll discover there's nothing for him. Marcus drafted the documents that afternoon. A new will. Articles of incorporation for the Gloria Winters Education Foundation. Trust documents for Cameron's fund. He also arranged for me to see a psychiatrist. Terrence will contest the will, Marcus explained. He'll claim you weren't in your right mind when you signed it. We need documentation proving you were fully competent. I saw Dr. Raymond Cooper 2 days later. Underwent a full psychiatric evaluation, memory tests, cognitive assessments, questions about my understanding of my assets, my decisions, my reasons for changing the will. Dr. Cooper's report was definitive. Gloria Winters demonstrates full mental competency. She understands her estate, her decisions and the consequences of those decisions. She is of sound mind and body. I signed the new will on January 3rd, properly witnessed and notarized. Everything was legal. Everything was ironclad. Now I just had to survive long enough to make sure Terrence couldn't challenge it. I didn't tell Terrence I knew about the cancer or about his plans. I played along, accepted his phone calls, his visits, his fake concern. Mom, how are you feeling? You look a little pale. Just tired, honey. The holidays wore me out. You should see your doctor. Get a checkup. I will. Don't worry about me. Inside I wanted to scream, to confront him, to ask how he could be so cruel. But I stayed silent. Because I needed time. Time to set up the foundation properly. Time to make sure everything was legally protected. Time to document his continued deception. Dr. Matthews called me in early January. Gloria, we need to discuss treatment options. I started chemotherapy in mid-January. It was brutal, nausea, fatigue, hair loss, weakness, but I endured it. Not because I thought it would cure me. We both knew there was no cure for stage 4 pancreatic cancer. But because it might buy me a few extra months, and I needed those months to make sure my plan was executed perfectly. Terrence and Keisha visited me during my treatments. So supportive, so loving. Mom, we're here for you, whatever you need. Keisha held my hand during one chemo session. Gloria, you're so strong. You're going to beat this. We all knew I wasn't going to beat it. But we played our roles. I wanted to rip my hand away from hers. To tell her I knew she was counting the days until I died. But I smiled weakly and said, "Thank you, sweetheart. You're so kind." I started recording our conversations. Little snippets of their fake concern, their false love, building evidence. Meanwhile, Marcus was working on establishing the Gloria Winters Education Foundation. We set up the board of directors, my 3 closest friends from my teaching years, Dorothy, Sharon, and Linda. Marcus as legal advisor, a financial advisor to manage the endowment. We drafted the mission statement to provide full tuition scholarships to Black students from low-income families in South Carolina, with preference given to first-generation college students. We created the selection criteria, the application process, the award amounts. We made it real. By February, the foundation was officially established and registered with the state. All it needed was funding. And it would get that funding the moment I died. $1 million from my estate would flow directly into the foundation's endowment. The house would be sold, and the proceeds added. My life insurance, my retirement accounts, everything. Cameron's trust fund $200,000 would be managed by Sarah Morrison, a financial advisor I trusted completely. Terrence would have zero access to it. And Terrence himself? He'd get my photo albums, the family Bible, maybe some furniture if he wanted it. But money? Nothing. The will was explicit, clear, impossible to misinterpret. Marcus had made sure of that. By March, 3 months after my diagnosis, my health was declining visibly. I'd lost 30 pounds. My skin had a grayish tone. I was weak, tired, constantly in pain despite the medications. Terrence and Keisha's visits became more frequent. They were monitoring me, watching the decline, preparing. One Sunday in late March, Terrence brought Cameron to visit. My sweet grandson burst through the door with a drawing. "Grandma Gloria, I made you a get-well card." It showed me as a stick figure with a big smile, surrounded by flowers and hearts. "Get well soon, Grandma. I love you." I held Cameron and cried. He was innocent in all this. He didn't understand what his parents were doing. "I love you too, baby boy. So much." After Cameron went to play with toys I kept at the house for him, Terrence sat down next to me. "Mom, we need to talk about practical matters." "What kind of matters?" "Your house, your finances. When the time comes, and I know we don't want to think about it, but when the time comes, I want to make sure everything is in order." He was planning my funeral while I was still alive. "Everything is taken care of, Terrence, but I should know where your important documents are. Your will, your insurance policies, account information. As your son, I should know." "Marcus Stone has everything. Maybe I should meet with him, go over things with him, make sure I understand." "You'll understand everything when the time comes." Terrence looked frustrated. "Mom, I'm just trying to help to make things easier for you." "I know, baby, and I appreciate it, but everything is handled. Don't worry." He couldn't push too hard without revealing his true motives. But I could see the calculation in his eyes, the impatience. "How much longer? When can I sell the house? When do I get the money?" By May, 5 months after my diagnosis, I was in hospice care at home. A nurse came daily, managed my medications, helped with bathing, dressing, basic care. I was bedridden now, too weak to do much beyond sleep and watch television, but my mind was still sharp, and I was still gathering evidence. One evening in mid-May, Terrence and Keisha were in my kitchen. They thought I was asleep. I heard every word. Keisha's voice. "How much longer do you think?" "Terrence," the nurse said, "maybe 2 weeks, a month at most. Her organs are starting to fail." The realtor already came by and looked at the house. "We can list it the week after the funeral. Maybe get it on the market while it's still spring. Better selling season." "And you talked to the insurance company?" "Yeah. The $200,000 pays out within 30 days of the death certificate. We'll have that cash fast." "Keisha, we should book that trip to Dubai, the one we talked about. Celebration vacation. After an appropriate mourning period, maybe 3 months. Then we can travel." They were planning their celebration while I lay dying in the next room. I had my phone next to me in bed. The nurse had helped me set it up to record. I captured every word. More evidence of their betrayal. I died on a Tuesday morning in late May, 6 months after that Christmas dinner. 6 months after learning I had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I'd made it to my timeline, done everything I needed to do. The hospice nurse was with me. Marcus Stone had stopped by for a visit. We'd planned it that way so there would be a witness. And ironically, Terrence and Keisha were there too. They'd been visiting more frequently as the end approached, making sure they were there when I died. Making sure they appeared to be devoted family members. The end was peaceful. I was on enough morphine that there was no pain. I looked at Terrence one last time. My son, the child I'd raised and loved and sacrificed for. The man who'd been waiting for me to die. I wanted to tell him I knew. Wanted to see his face when he realized I'd outsmarted him. But I'd done something better. I'd left him a video. He'd see it soon enough. My last thought was, Terrence, you're about to learn what happens when you count your mother's money before she's even cold. Then I closed my eyes and let go. The funeral was Saturday. It was beautiful. Exactly what I'd planned. My church was full. Former students, now adults, came to pay respects. Teaching colleagues, friends, neighbors. The service was traditional. Hymns I'd loved, readings from scripture, eulogies from people who'd known me well. And Terrence gave a eulogy. He stood at the pulpit looking appropriately devastated, his voice breaking at just the right moments. My mother was an amazing woman, a dedicated teacher who touched hundreds of lives, a loving grandmother who adored her grandson, a strong woman who raised me alone after my father died. She gave me everything, her time, her energy, her resources, her love. Everything I am, I owe to her. I'm going to miss her every single day, he cried, real tears streaming down his face. Maybe some of them were genuine. Maybe some small part of him actually grieved, but I knew the truth. He was crying tears of relief, of anticipation. The funeral meant the reading of the will was coming. The inheritance was almost his, or so he thought. The will reading was scheduled for the following Wednesday at Marcus Stone's office. Terrence arrived confident, almost cheerful. Keisha was with him, dressed in respectful black but with an energy that suggested anticipation rather than grief. Cameron was there too, with a babysitter in the waiting room. Too young to sit through legal proceedings. Also present, Dorothy, Sharon and Linda, my 3 closest friends. I'd specifically requested they attend the will reading, and Jasmine, the waitress from Magnolia and Grace. I'd asked Marcus to invite her months ago. She'd agreed to come. Terrence looked confused when he saw them. Why are Mom's friends here? Marcus said simply. Gloria requested their presence. Everyone sat. Marcus opened his folder. We're here for the reading of Gloria Winter's last will and testament, executed on January 3rd of this year. He began with the standard legal language. Revocation of previous wills, declaration of sound mind, appointment of executor. Then he got to the specific bequests. To my beloved grandson Cameron Winters, I leave a trust fund in the amount of $200,000 to be managed by independent trustee Sarah Morrison, until Cameron reaches the age of 25. Terrence nodded. Expected. Marcus continued. To my son Terrence Winters I leave my personal photo albums, the family Bible and any furniture or household items he wishes to claim within 30 days of my death. Silence. Terrence's head snapped up. What? That's it? Marcus read on, his voice steady. The remainder of my estate, including my house at 4128 Magnolia Drive, valued at approximately $650,000, my life insurance policy of $200,000, my retirement accounts totaling $280,000, and all other assets totaling approximately $1.15 million, I leave to the Gloria Winters Education Foundation, to be used for scholarships for deserving students. The room was completely silent. Terrence stood up. This is impossible. That will is fake. I assure you, this will is entirely legitimate. My mother would never disinherit me. I'm her only child. She loved me. Marcus remained calm. This will was properly executed, witnessed by 2 independent witnesses, and notarized. It supersedes all previous wills. Keisha's voice was shrill. She was dying. She was on medications. She wasn't in her right mind. We'll contest this. Gloria anticipated that concern. She underwent a comprehensive psychiatric evaluation by Dr. Raymond Cooper on January 2nd. The day before she signed this will, he deemed her fully competent. Marcus pulled out Dr. Cooper's report. I have the documentation here. Gloria was of sound mind, understood her assets and decisions, and acted of her own free will. Terrence's face was red. This is insane. Why would she do this? She left a video explanation. Would you like to see it? Marcus turned on a large monitor on the wall. The video showed me, clearly weak and ill, but lucid and determined, recorded 2 weeks before my death in my bedroom, with good lighting and clear audio. I looked directly at the camera. At Terrence. Terrence, if you're watching this, you're probably shocked that I disinherited you. Let me explain why. I took a breath, gathering strength. 6 months ago on Christmas night I had dinner with you, Keisha, and Cameron at Magnolia and Grace restaurant. It was a beautiful evening, or so I thought. I forgot my phone at the restaurant. When I went back to get it, the waitress showed me something. Security footage from our table. Footage of what you and Keisha said when I went to the bathroom. The screen split, half showed me speaking, half showed the restaurant footage. Terrence and Keisha's conversation played in full. God, I thought she'd never leave. I can't stand another minute of her boring stories. The one about her students, I've heard it 1,000 times. Nobody cares, Gloria. 6 more months. That's all we need. You sure the diagnosis is terminal? Doctor confirmed it. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. She has maybe 8 months, probably 6. The entire conversation, their mockery, their planning, their celebration of my impending death, Cameron asking about the puppy, all of it. Terrence had gone completely pale. Keisha was crying. My voice continued over the footage. I heard you celebrating my death, planning to sell my house, counting my money, deciding how to spend your inheritance. You knew I was dying before I did. Dr. Matthews violated HIPAA and told you my diagnosis. Instead of telling me, instead of supporting me, you waited. You planned. You pretended to care. The video returned to just me. For 6 months I watched you fake your love while I knew the truth. 6 months of fake visits, fake concern, fake devotion. You were waiting for me to die so you could get rich. Well, Terrence, I'm dead now, and you're not getting my money. You're getting what you deserve. Nothing. My estate will fund scholarships for students who actually value education, family and integrity, students who remind me why I became a teacher in the first place. Cameron will have his trust fund. He's innocent. He doesn't deserve to be punished for your greed. But you'll have photo albums and a Bible. Sentimental items from the mother you couldn't wait to bury. You'll have to live with what you did. With the fact that you spent 6 months waiting for your mother to die, planning your celebration, counting money that will never be yours. I hope it was worth it. The video ended. The room was silent except for Keisha's crying. Dorothy stood up. She was 62, had taught with me for 20 years, was like a sister to me. You're disgusting, she said to Terrence. Both of you, waiting for Gloria to die like vultures. Terrence slumped in his chair. Mom, I can explain. She's dead, Sharon said coldly. You don't get to explain anything to her now. Jasmine spoke up from the back of the room. I have the original restaurant footage if it's needed. Time-stamped, unedited. Everything Mrs. Winters said is true. Marcus addressed Terrence directly. You can contest the will if you'd like, but you'll lose. Gloria was competent. The will is valid. You'll spend your own money on legal fees trying to break it, and you'll fail. My advice? Accept what you've been given and move on. Keisha stood up, her voice desperate. We have bills. We have a mortgage. We were counting on this money. Linda, another of my teaching friends, stood up. You were counting on a dying woman's money. You're both disgusting human beings. Terrence and Keisha left without another word. As they walked out, I heard Keisha hissing at Terrence. You said this was guaranteed. You said we'd be set for life. I thought we would be. Your mother outsmarted you. Do you understand that? She knew what we were planning and she destroyed us. The door slammed behind them. Marcus distributed the documents to the foundation board members. The house will be sold. Proceeds will go to the foundation's endowment. Combined with Gloria's other assets, the foundation will have approximately $1.1 million to work with. That should fund multiple full tuition scholarships every year, in perpetuity if managed correctly. Dorothy wiped her eyes. Gloria would have loved this. Helping students. That's who she was. The first scholarships will be awarded next spring. Marcus continued. We'll have a ceremony, honor Gloria's memory. Sharon asked, what about Cameron's trust fund? Sarah Morrison will manage it. Cameron will receive distributions for education, healthcare and basic needs until he turns 25. Then he'll get full control. Terrence has no access to it whatsoever. Good, Linda said. That child deserves better than his parents. Jasmine spoke up quietly. Mrs. Winters asked me to be here. Is there something she wanted me to do? Marcus handed her an envelope. She left this for you, a personal note. Jasmine opened it. Inside was a letter in my handwriting and a check for $5,000. The letter read, Dear Jasmine, thank you for showing me the truth. It hurt more than words can express, but I needed to know. You gave me the gift of knowledge and the time to respond. This money is a small token of my gratitude. Use it for something that brings you joy. You're a good person. Never doubt that. With love and appreciation, Gloria Winter. Jasmine was crying. She was so kind, so gracious, and they treated her like garbage. They did. Marcus agreed. But she got the last word. 6 months later, the Gloria Winters Education Foundation held its first scholarship ceremony. 5 black students from low-income families across South Carolina received full tuition scholarships to attend college. The ceremony was held at my old school, the elementary school where I'd taught for 35 years. The auditorium was full. Students, teachers, community members, foundation board members. The 5 scholarship recipients sat on stage, looking proud and grateful and excited. Each one gave a brief speech about what the scholarship meant to them. My single mother works 3 jobs. Without this scholarship, college would have been impossible. I'm the first person in my family to go to college. Mrs. Winters made my dream possible. I want to be a teacher just like Mrs. Winters was. I want to help kids the way she helped her students. Dorothy spoke on behalf of the foundation. Gloria Winters dedicated her life to education. She believed every child deserved a chance to succeed. This foundation continues her legacy. Every year will help more students achieve their dreams. Gloria couldn't be here today, but I know she's watching, and I know she's proud. Cameron was in the audience. 7 years old now, he wasn't with Terrence and Keisha. After the will reading, their marriage had imploded. The shame, the humiliation, the lost money. It destroyed them. They'd divorced within 3 months. Keisha's mother had gotten custody of Cameron, argued successfully that Terrence was financially and emotionally unstable. Cameron was with his grandmother now. Keisha's mother, a decent woman who was horrified by what her daughter had done. After the ceremony, Cameron placed flowers on my grave. The cemetery was quiet. Late afternoon sun filtering through the trees. "Hi Grandma Gloria. I miss you." He set down the flowers, daisies. "My favorite. Daddy said you were mean, that you took away his money. But I know that's not true. You were always nice to me. Thank you for my trust fund. Grandma Barbara said you made sure I'd be okay. That I could go to college when I grow up. I'm going to work hard in school. Make you proud. I love you, Grandma." He walked back to where his grandmother was waiting. From a distance I saw Terrence, standing far back watching the ceremony from behind a tree. He looked broken, older than his 33 years. Defeated, he'd lost everything. His inheritance, his marriage, his son, his reputation. Everyone who mattered in Charleston knew what he'd done, what he and Keisha had planned. He was a pariah, the man who'd celebrated his mother's terminal diagnosis, who'd counted her money while she died. He'd lost his job at the investment bank. Cultural fit issues, they'd said. But everyone knew it was the scandal. He was working at a smaller firm now, making a fraction of what he used to make, living in a small apartment, alone. All because he'd been too greedy to love his mother, all because he'd celebrated my death. If I could speak to him now, I'd tell him this: "Terrence, I loved you. I gave you everything I had. I worked 2 jobs to put you through school. I helped you build your life. I was there for you always. But you saw me as a bank account, as an inheritance, as an obstacle between you and money. You knew I was dying and you celebrated. You planned my funeral before I was even gone. You counted dollars while I counted my remaining days. You thought I was too old, too sick, too weak to fight back. But I was a school teacher for 35 years. I taught hundreds of children. I learned patience, strategy, and how to plan for the future. I used my last 6 months to make sure you got exactly what you deserved. Nothing. My money is helping students who value education, who respect their families, who understand that love is worth more than inheritance. Cameron is protected. He'll have opportunities you can't touch. And you? You have photo albums and a Bible. Reminders of the mother you betrayed. I hope every time you look at those photos you remember what you lost. Not the money. Me, your mother who loved you. That was your real inheritance. And you threw it away. I'm Gloria Winters. I died 6 months after a Christmas dinner where I forgot my phone. When I came back for it, a waitress locked the door and showed me security footage. "Promise me you won't pass out," she said. What I saw on that video broke my heart. My son celebrating my terminal diagnosis, planning my funeral, counting my money, waiting for me to die. I had 6 months left to live. I spent them making sure he got exactly what he deserved. Nothing. My estate funds scholarships for deserving students. My grandson has a protected trust fund. My legacy lives on in education, not in enriching someone who valued money over love. Terrence thought he was clever. Thought he'd wait out my death and cash in. But I was a school teacher, and I taught him the most important lesson of his life. Never underestimate your mother, especially when she knows she's dying and has 6 months to outsmart you. That's my story. From beyond the grave I got justice, and Terrence got exactly what he earned. Nothing but shame, loss and the knowledge that his greed destroyed everything. My final lesson to him, and he'll carry it for the rest of his life.